Have you ever heard of a gorilla who could speak to people in sign language, play with kittens, tell jokes, know how to drive a car, and understand more than 1,000 words? And what if I told you that this gorilla thought about death and even left the world a terrifying message before leaving us forever? Today I'm going to tell you the amazing story of Koko, the gorilla who made us rethink the line between human and animal intelligence. On July 4th, 1971, the United States Independence Day, a baby gorilla was born at the San Francisco Zoo. He was named Hanabi Cow, which means fireworks child in Japanese. Later her name was shortened to simply Koko. At the time, no one could have imagined that this little gorilla would one day change our idea of what animals are capable of. Koko's childhood was not easy. When she was still a baby, she became ill and had to be separated from her mother for treatment. When Koko was finally returned to her mother, she rejected her and refused to accept her as her baby. The little gorilla was left alone in a cage with other gorillas that were strangers to her. But fate had something special in store for her. In 1972, a young Stanford University student named Francine Patterson, known to everyone as Penny, decided to take care of Koko. Penny was working on her doctoral thesis on communication with great apes and wanted to teach a gorilla sign language. At that time, gorillas were not considered very intelligent compared to other primates. They were also considered aggressive, so scientists did not like to interact with them. But Penny's experiment completely changed this notion. Starting Koko's training was not easy. When people learn sign language, the instructor can usually put the student's hands in the right position, but Koko did not allow anyone to touch her. So Penny had to show Koko an object and then do the sign for it, over and over again. But it turned out that Koko had an amazing ability to learn. The first sign she showed Penny was for drinking. One finger touched her lips while the others were bent. Over time, a real friendship developed between the scientist and the gorilla. Koko was even moved from the zoo to a special trailer lab on the university campus. The gorilla had his own room but was allowed to go into all areas, including Penny's room. There was a cage in the trailer for safety, but it was never used. By the time Koko was 3 years old, she could confidently use about 200 words in sign language. Not only did she learn the names of objects, but she was also able to express her feelings. When Koko was shown a picture of another monkey taking a bath, and Koko didn't like bathing, she drew, "There I am crying." When she saw a horse with a bridle in its mouth, the clever gorilla immediately signed, "Horse sad, teeth." The most amazing thing was that Koko not only understood and used sign language, but also had a real sense of humor. At one point she called herself a good bird and claimed she could fly, but then admitted that wasn't true. She was just kidding. Another time she pulled Penny's hair and then laughed and gave an apology. This showed that Koko had what scientists call theory of mind, the ability to understand that other living things have their own thoughts and feelings that are different from her own. When Koko didn't know the name of an object, she made up her own by combining familiar words. For example, the ring that Penny was wearing, Koko called a finger bracelet. Isn't that logical? After all, a ring really looks like a bracelet for a finger. This kind of linguistic creativity was evident in other situations as well. When she first saw a mask, she called it an eye hat. When she looked into a cup that had no water in it, she signed "don't drink." This ability to form new words showed that Koko not only memorized signs, but really understood their meaning. She could creatively combine signs to describe new concepts. Skeptics said that Dr. Patterson simply trained Koko like a circus animal, but the facts proved the opposite. When Koko was alone, she played with her dolls and talked to them for a long time in sign language. She even tried to communicate with other animals in sign language. And when she didn't receive an answer, she switched to inanimate objects. Such behavior is difficult to explain with simple training. According to various IQ tests, Koko's intelligence was estimated at 70 to 90 points. While this is lower than the average human IQ, it is still an amazing result for an animal. She could draw at the level of a 4-year-old child, depicting her favorite toys and the world around her. Coco even had a friend, a male gorilla named Michael, to whom she also taught some words in sign language. Later, another male gorilla named Doom joined the two. Together, they formed the world's first pair of animals that could communicate in human language. And they didn't just use sign language to trade bananas. When Michael ripped off Coco's leg, she got very angry and called him a dirty, bad toilet. One of the most touching stories in Coco's life was her friendship with kittens. On her birthday in 1984, she asked her keepers to give her a cat. The keepers brought her several stray kittens to wave from. Coco carefully examined each one and chose a small gray kitten without a tail. She named it Albal. Coco cared for the kitten as if it were her own baby. She gently carried it on her back, hugged it, and even tried to nurse it. Despite her size, the female gorilla was incredibly careful and attentive to her little darling. Unfortunately, later that year, the cub escaped from the enclosure and was hit by a car. Coco's reaction to the loss of her beloved animal shocked even experienced scientists. When told this sad news, she seemed at first to be in shock. She stood there silently, as if she had heard nothing. Then she began to make soft moaning sounds, deep, mournful sounds that gorillas use to express their grief. She made signs indicating sadness, frowning and using the words sad and bad. She pressed her hands to her cheek, the sign for sleep, and repeatedly signed cat sleep, as if to accept that her friend had fallen asleep forever. After Albal's death, Penny noticed that Coco continued to make sounds similar to human cries for several days. She refused to play and constantly repeated the sign for sad. This ability to experience loss and express grief made Coco even more like a human. In the years that followed, Coco continued to have new kittens. On her 44th birthday, she received 2 new kittens, which she named Miss Black and Miss Gray after their coat colors. Videos of the giant gorilla gently caressing a small kitten spread across the internet, stirring people around the world. Coco was known not only for her intelligence, but also for her personal habits and idiosyncrasies. For example, she had an unusual obsession with the human breast. She showed a strange interest in this body part and sometimes expressed her desire to see it with guests. In 2005, 3 keepers who worked with Coco even filed a lawsuit, as they were allegedly forced to fulfill this unusual request of the gorilla, which was expressed in sign language. Coco had incredible self-confidence. At the age of 19, she successfully passed the mirror self-recognition test. Unlike most gorillas, who see their reflection as another gorilla, Coco recognized herself immediately. She was often seen looking at her reflection, which was a testament to her extraordinary self-awareness. She loved watching movies, and her favorite movie was Tea with Mussolini. Every time she saw the saddest scene in the film, the moment when the boy says goodbye to his family, Coco turned away so as not to get upset. The film Jurassic Park, which featured dinosaurs, impressed her so much that she became afraid to approach her toy dinosaurs. All this showed the depth of Coco's emotional world. Coco's fame grew from year to year. Her photo with Albal appeared on the cover of National Geographic magazine and became one of the most popular images in the history of the magazine. Many celebrities visited the extraordinary gorilla to meet him. Among them was the comedian Robin Williams, with whom Coco developed a warm relationship. There is a touching video recording of their meeting, in which Coco tries to put glasses on Williams, invites him to tickle her, and the two make funny faces together. When Williams tragically passed away in 2014, Coco was noticeably sad after hearing the news and walked around all day with a downcast look on her face. As well as communicating in sign language, Coco learned to use a special computer with symbols that allowed her to type words that the computer would then speak out loud. She also learned to draw and write simple symbols. She could hold a pen, select options from a menu on paper, or make simple drawings. Amazingly, Coco even learned to play musical instruments such as the harmonica, toy flutes, and even a simple recorder. In 2012, scientists watched in amazement as Coco blew into a recorder and produced sounds, a feat previously thought to be impossible for primates due to the structure of their respiratory systems. One of the most puzzling aspects of Coco's personality was her attitude toward the concept of death. One day, a keeper showed her a skeleton and asked her if it was alive or dead. Coco responded with the sign for death. When asked where dead gorillas go, Coco replied calmly, "Into a comfortable hole," then gave a goodbye kiss. This led many people to wonder how much the gorilla understood the idea of death. In the last years of her life, Coco became a sort of ambassador for nature, calling on people to care for the planet and other animals. "Nature is watching you," she signed, which sounded a bit ominous but got people thinking. It was as if she felt responsible for all of her fellow gorillas still living in the wild. On June 19, 2018, just weeks before her 47th birthday, Coco passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her death was mourned by millions of people around the world, for whom she had become a symbol of friendship and understanding between species. The Gorilla Foundation, created to support the work with Coco, said her legacy will live on and shape our understanding of gorillas' emotional and cognitive abilities. But before she left this world, Coco left a chilling message for humanity. As if she possessed a deep knowledge of human history, she gave us words with attention.